Did you know Amazon provides ways of working that fits your lifestyle? They know you value your time outside of work, juggling family, school, friends, or other activities. That's why they offer a variety of shifts that work for you. There are full-time, part-time, and even temporary opportunities that can work with your schedule. With great starting pay and sign-on bonuses, if you want a career that fits and adapts to your lifestyle, head to amazon.com/apply. Amazon is a proud equal opportunity employer.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Super J-Cast. I'm Joel. It is Thursday 27th of January. This is episode 195. I'm not joined by Damon McDonald this week. Damon is going to be taking a little bit of time off because of his injured shoulder. So unfortunately the doctors have not cleared him for podcast action. So we'll wish him speedy recovery, lots of good vibes. In his place we have Super J-Cast Hall of Famer, critically acclaimed guest co-host of the year, the great BoozeLeprechaun. Thank you very much for stepping in once again, Booze.
Wait a minute. This isn't the Super Sumo cast?
It could. We've had so many suggestions for things to change. The Super N cast, after I saw a Reddit thread popping up saying that people are getting into Noah now because of the Super J cast. I was like, that's not really what we're here for, but
no.
I mean, whatever. If we're bringing a bit of joy into people's lives. But I mean, absolutely, this week, I'm really excited to finally be with you here on the J cast and talk about the best kind of Japanese wrestling, which is, of course, sumo. And
yes,
like a broken clock, I finally got a prediction right. So you want to talk about our boy Mitakeumi and his big Ozeki promotion?
Oh my God. Yeah. So I've been like on the Mitakeumi train since day one. And I didn't think I would actually get to see this day because he had shit the bed on 3 actual like formal Ozeki runs. And this was not an Ozeki run. So yeah, you're going, no, he's gonna get it. He's gonna get it. And I was just the little ball of sunshine going, I don't think we're gonna get it done. Because I just hadn't seen it. And I'd gotten my heart broken so many times. And my heart did not get broken this time.
I mean, he's just such a lovable Rikishi, isn't he? I mean, I hate to be this reductive and insulting about sumo wrestlers, but he looks like the kind of one who, you could sort of pinch his cheeks or poke his belly and he'd giggle. Whereas, if you did that to someone like Terunofuji, he'd probably kill you. But there's just something very endearing about Mitakeumi. I don't know anyone that doesn't like him.
Yeah, I think some of it is a bit because of his height. So he's a little shorter. He's not like Enho tiny, but he's a little bit shorter and he's a little bit rounder. And he's just got that endearing smile. His family is incredibly adorable. They kept, especially the last day, they kept showing shots of like his mom and I guess the whole kind of group of them up in like the nosebleed section of Sumo Hall. And they're all wearing matching shirts and she's, taking photos and it was just very heartwarming. And especially with everything that's still kind of going on right now, it just was very wonderful to see and just kind of lightening of the mood.
I suppose, this has been my theory this year, why I thought he'd get it, because the field of competition seems depleted. We've got no Hakuho, no Kakuryu. Terunofuji looked pretty hurt in this basho. No Asanoyama, Takakeisho injured as well. So just the level of competition seems like not what it was before when he was struggling to put those Ozeki runs together. So that was my thinking going into my big Mitakeumi Ozeki prediction. Do you think he's going to be able to stay there?
I think so, because the one thing that he's always had going for him is just his consistency. Basically, as soon as he got up to Sanyaku, which is Komusube or higher, once he got there, he effectively stayed at those ranks. And I think there's only one time he dipped out and dropped to maybe like a Maegashira 1 or a Maegashira 3. That was basically due to injury. And then basically within a couple of bashos, he was right back up in Sanyaku at Komusube and has stayed up there. And he's currently like the most consistent of those in Sanyaku. So I think, I don't think we're going to be watching him go Kadoban like every other basho like we are right now with Shodai and Takakeisho. Now, do I think he's going to take that next plunge to Yokozuna? I'm not sure. We'll see. I mean, he's already got more shows under his belt than Consider Sato. When Consider Sato finally got over that hurdle and got that Yokozuna promotion. So it may be something as simple as if he just like reels off maybe like a year of solid double digit wins, like placing in second and maybe getting one or two more shows. They might do it. Because that's the only thing with Mitakeumi is that he's been very consistent in Sanyaku, but this is actually only the first time within Sanyaku that he's gotten back-to-back double-digit wins. And obviously for Yokozuna, they want you to, Senso Yusho would be great, but if you can at least, roll off 14 and 1s and 13 and 2s, maybe the occasional 12 and 3, they'll be perfectly happy. There was so the Yokozuna Decision Council got together. The head of it is retiring, and he made some comments, and some of the comments, one of which was about Mitakeumi's promotion, and he basically said that one of the reasons he finally got the Ozeki promotion was to basically light a fire under Takakeisho's ass, and that hopefully having a little proper competition at Ozeki might get Takakeisho to get his shit together and cross that line to get Yokozuna. No mention of Shodai, by the way, which I thought was great. I think everybody is just quietly accepting. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of quietly accepted that maybe that was not the best promotion that they could have done.
Well, before we run off the rest of our listeners, I've just got one more question. Okay, so I've gone mad with confidence here. I've got one prediction right, so I'm going to throw two more at you, which I think I mentioned before, but here they go. The only Yokozuna we got at the moment, Terunofuji, he's not looking in great shape at the moment. So my prediction is he doesn't make it till the end of 2022. He retires before the end of the calendar year. And my second prediction is we don't get another Yokozuna until 2024. Your thoughts, please.
I'm going to tackle the second prediction first. Yeah, I agree that we will most likely not see another Yokozuna till 2024. I think I might have thrown that prediction out last time I was on hosting, which
That's
is
probably
kind
where
of
I got
weird
it from then.
Right, yeah. Like I don't see it happening. Now, him retiring this year, I don't know. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility. They admitted that he is injured. It's either his heel, kind of ankle area, because that was definitely taped up more than normal, or it's just his Naito-esque knees finally maybe wanting to give out again. So I think if he can at least he may not be in March Basho. That will be the test as to whether he makes it through this year or not. If he can at least kind of drag himself and at least start some bashos, maybe pull out due to injury, which is the old Hakuho trick. If he can maybe do that and kind of switch off and on, I'm injured, that I'm gonna go Kujo, and then next basho he can reel off, either wins or coming in second. I think they'll be perfectly happy with that until somebody else can step up to be Yokozuna. But yeah, I'll be shocked if we get somebody before 2024, and it might be Mitakeumi at this rate. If he holds on to this confidence, and he gets has a good showing as a Shin Ozeki, and then maybe reels off, is able to pull one Yusho. Maybe they may not even want him to go back to back. If he can just get some really solid results, snag one Yusho, they just might be desperate enough and just elevate him and do it.
Well, if you don't follow sumo but you're interested in it, I think this is a really interesting time to be starting. So get involved, start watching, and get behind your boy Mitakeumi, because he's going to be certainly one to watch, and I'll be cheering for him for that Yokozuna promotion. He might not make it, but at the very least, we are enjoying saying hello to a fresh Ozeki. But Booze, our listeners can also enjoy saying hello to some fresh ingredients arriving on their doorstep from our friends over at HelloFresh. So what is HelloFresh, you ask? With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store, counting on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Only in America. If you're not listening in America, just skip this part. So, the new year is a great time to focus on what's most important to you, whether it's saving money by ordering less takeout, learning to cook, or prioritizing your wellness. HelloFresh is here to help with endless options to make cooking at home simple and enjoyable. HelloFresh cuts back on time spent in the kitchen so you can spend it on your other resolutions with meals ready in around 30 minutes or less. Plus, quick and easy meals, including 20-minute recipes and low prep and easy cleanup options, provide an even faster route to putting food on the table. So go to hellofresh.com/VOW16 and use code VOW16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. So that's again, go to hellofresh.com/VOW16, code VOW16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. What did you think of that segue, Booze?
I got scared for a hot minute because I thought you were going to throw it to me to do the read, and of course I didn't have anything.
Oh, that'll be next week.
Oh yeah. No, it was such a beautiful read. I laughed, I cried. It was better than Cats.
It's layered, isn't it? It's a layered performance. It's this kind of thing you have to go back and listen to multiple times to catch the nuances in it. But yeah, glad my work's been appreciated.
Yes.
So I will let you choose where we go today, Bruce. Okay, we've got news, Lions Raw, Golden Series, or Strong. So where would you like to go first?
I guess let's not freak everybody out completely. And let's go with news first.
All right, well, first piece of news, a bit of unfortunate news, of course, this disaster in Tonga. New Japan are helping to raise proceeds towards that with their pretty awesome Lions Mark Tonga flag shirt. So, and I'm not a huge merch buying person at the moment. You dabble into the merch. What do you think of this T-shirt?
No, it's a nice T-shirt. It's kind of very similar to. They've done a couple other similar T-shirts for disasters that have affected members of the roster. So this is pretty much in line with that. Nice little synergy, unexpectedly, with Lions Roar, because we're already kind of thinking about Fale and Tonga, and so. But yeah, good piece of merch. If you got the coins, go ahead, snatch it.
That's
help
right. I mean,
for a good cause.
All in a good cause, isn't it? So yeah, thoughts, prayers, all of that, all our best wishes go out to everyone involved in that. We hope everyone's okay. Next piece of news then, of course, are the show cancellations. They cancelled a few shows. They had some members of the roster with high temperatures and fevers, so they just decided to just axe a few shows. We will be back then with New Japan on Sunday, February 6th. So a little bit of a break here. Louis says, how frustrated do you think New Japan is having to cancel shows just when things get rolling again? They hit some speed bumps. I mean, sure, it must be frustrating for everyone involved, but I wonder if the wrestlers, maybe the fans as well, are enjoying having a little break. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I wasn't thinking, oh no, I can't believe they cancelled these house shows when the news came out.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, let's be honest. How many of us, besides the Shin Nihon freaks in our Discord, were getting up and watching those shows live, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I would extend the question, how many are watching it on VOD as well? I mean,
right.
They weren't the sexiest lineups on paper.
No, which again, is not New Japan's fault. We've been over this millions of times. You know, they're working with the hand they've been dealt with. But it's not like we're losing. It's not like when they had to shut down last year and we lost like major shows. We're losing a bunch of house shows that pretty much have the same cards night after night. So watch the two that are up on World and then just kind of pretend that that's what you've been watching for the 2 weeks of the shutdown and be fresh and ready for when they come back on the 6th.
The other tidbit that came out was a story from Tokyo Sports. And of course, anything Tokyo Sports related has got to be taken with a heavy pinch of salt because they basically run kayfabe angles from New Japan a lot of the time. So there was an interview with Naito where he was talking about taking a pay cut. What was the figure? It was like 24% or something. He said he took a 24% pay cut. And there was a bit of digging from VOW or from their Patreon, which good value. You know, you get pretty good scoops from Joe Rich on their $10 tier. So their news said that yes, Naito did take a pay cut, but it wasn't that big. He was exaggerating it to sort of build up the story with Okada, because that was the whole thing in the interview. He was saying, "Oh, I took this massive pay cut so Okada could keep full salary." So adding a bit of juice to their feud. I mean, we had been told by sources that all wrestlers had to take a pay cut, something corroborated by VOW. So Festive Dwarf says, will the Super J-Cast move on from sponsoring soccer players to sponsoring NJPW wrestlers given the new pay cuts? I mean, I would love to be like, you know, sort of a proper Japanese sponsor where whenever they roll around to your town, you take them out for a big meal. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Which wrestler would I sponsor? Probably someone who doesn't eat much. Maybe sponsor Zach, because he's vegan, isn't he? So you'd be avoiding all the expensive cuts of meat if you went to like the Yakiniku restaurant. Bash says, are the pay cuts due to lost revenue from ticket sales from COVID restrictions? Well, yeah, of course they are. Do you think all the top guys have taken a cut? Yeah, I do. I think everyone will have taken a cut, but temporary one. If this is a reason, I think it's noble of Naito to do this so they can get through these tough times, but he should be reimbursed if things get back to pre-pandemic levels. I mean, that's the big question for me, Booze. Like, if things get back to pre-pandemic levels, that my sort of creeping worry is that we're never going to get there. And I hope we will, but the sort of the negative side of me does worry about that stuff. So yeah, what do you make of these pay cuts?
Well, I mean, pay cuts are coming across the board no matter what industry you're in, because yeah, we still have to get paid as wage slaves, but then you've got people above you that are having to, you know, get hit with higher bills for things across the board, as part of like the supply chain issue, which I have the joy of dealing with on many levels. So yeah, I mean, the pay cuts are what they are. My bigger worry would be in accepting a pay cut would be, am I actually going to get that back down the line? Or are they just going to keep? Because I think very negatively of upper management in these situations where, yeah, all right, I'll take the pay cut because it's for the good of the company. And then times will get back to quote unquote normal. You'll have full houses. And then you'll be like, hey, can I get that 10% back? And they'll come up with another reason not to give you that 10% back.
Yeah, something that's affecting a lot of people, not exclusive to wrestlers. So, yeah, I mean, I do wonder about someone like Naito saying stuff like, you know, he's a New Japan company guy, New Japan for life, and just absolutely obliterating any sort of negotiating power he has. Not suggesting that he's going to do something like rock up to NXT and start challenging for the North American title. That would be mental. But yeah, I mean, I'm sort of, it's equal parts admiration and shaking my head at, you foolish boy, Naito.
Well, it's you know, as the sources have said, Naito wasn't the only one taking the cut. So there's a bit of that, well, you know, if Tanahashi, and I don't know if Tanahashi took a cut, I'm just assuming that if the sources are saying that all the top guys took a cut, that of course includes Tanahashi, it's kind of hard when the ace takes the pay cut and you're trying to flex and not take the pay cut. So, you know, you don't, you know, the lower down the card you are, it's kind of harder when you see everybody above you taking those cuts to try and make a stand and go, I'd like to keep the 10%, maybe a 5% cut. So, you know, I don't know how much choice he really had in the matter. And as we've always talked about, Japan's a little bit different in that the wrestlers aren't jumping around from promotion to promotion. So there's really no negotiating power in that regards. No one's going to believe Naito if he goes, well, I'll just jump to Noah if you don't pay me. Because everybody knows he's not doing that. So really, New Japan just has all the cards in this case until at some point somebody goes, look, I will jump if you make me take another cut or whatever.
I think if that's one thing that the Japanese pro wrestling landscape needs, is to kind of break down some of those barriers and have more people jumping around, because at the moment things are looking pretty stale, but probably not going to happen because it's something that's embedded into the work culture there. Nevertheless, one other interesting thing from that VOW Patreon update was the information on the laying out of matches for Wrestle Kingdom Night 3. I don't know if you've seen this, but the gist of it is basically Keiji Muto going full, that doesn't work for me, brother. Did you see this?
Yeah, I read it, and I'm just, one, in awe of Keiji, that he could do that. I mean, that's just Keiji being Keiji. And even though I'm sure the reasoning was not altruistic, it was all about him, I think it worked out. I mean, all we're talking about after that main event was Kiyomiya and how it made him look like a star. And he's the talking point, and he's probably the reason why some people are going, hey, maybe we should become the Super N cast. So it worked out. But that just makes me wonder who the source is, because that's like some real nuts and bolts stuff.
Yeah, it would have to be someone in the room. That's something that I would love to know as well. I'm not going to ask out of respect, but I'm really curious because, you must have been literally in the room laying out the match for that to be able to happen. So it must be Tanahashi or Okada. But yeah, I mean, if anyone hasn't read this, it is worth checking out. Just in terms of minutiae, like who's getting the hot tag or who's coming out first out of the pair of them. I wonder, we're praising Kiyomiya. I wonder if Muto is listening to the Super Chat and going, fuck, I wanted to get all the praise myself. But that was definitely raised a chuckle when I saw that. All right, then. Let's go to Lions Raw, the Fale Dojo doc. Of course, we haven't really heard your thoughts about it yet. The one thing that jumps out to me is the production. I mean, this is really high-level stuff, isn't it? This is something that you could broadcast on any sort of major, American TV channel, and it would fit right in because it's just really good quality stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's actually, I finally started watching it over the weekend. So I binged the first 2 episodes. And after the first episode, that was my major takeaway, was the production values. And this is not, I mean, New Japan's documentary production values are normally pretty top notch, but this was just at another level. And you can see from the credits that they brought in outside people, which of course to a degree they had to, because no way they were getting a crew down in New Zealand right now with everything that's going on. But I definitely was looking at it and getting a vibe that I would not be surprised if after the first, we'll get the 12 episodes exclusive to World. And then I would not be shocked if at some point we saw this pop up on, say, Roku or Access or, Netflix or whatever. But yeah, it's at a quality that, you could throw it on to any of those streaming services for extra content.
I like the format of it. So it seems that each week they're going to focus on one of the trainees so you can learn a bit about their story. And as I keep saying, you don't need to be given much, just a little bit of their personal history for you to make a nice personal connection with them. This week we found out about Jake Taylor, and he talked about a lot of the sacrifices he made to get there. For example, choosing wrestling over the girl that he thought he was going to marry, how he had his first stint in the Japan dojo he was suffering from an Achilles injury, and every time he sort of showed any kind of pain or sort of grabbed his Achilles, then they were basically pointing to the door, telling him to F off. So yeah, pretty brutal stuff. But you do, again, I like hearing these personal stories, and it helps me get behind these guys. It makes me want to cheer for them. So again, if I see the name Jake Taylor pop up in Japan in the future, I'm going to be, oh yeah, it's that guy that I saw in Lions Raw, and gives you a little bit of investment.
It also gave a little, I didn't know that so many of Fale's guys were at least had been making it to the dojo and at least doing kind of background stuff, maybe not being at ringside, but at least being over there. Because before this, I just thought it was Michael Richards was the only one that had gotten over there. So that's been one of the eye-opening things for me, that there's been, I think it sounds like maybe 3 or 4 of them were able to get over there at one point. And then for whatever reason, whether it's because of the pandemic or whatever, left. So that was eye-opening. I know you guys talked about Michael Richards last week, and there's one thing in hearing somebody else telling you the story of him telling the story of Rocky chewing him out after that Young Lions Cup. But to actually watch him talk about it, and the fact that at this point it's about 2+ years after that Lions Cup match, and you can tell that it just still stings him as if it had just happened earlier in the day, him getting chewed out by Rocky. So I've got a whole new appreciation for him, because I think we were all, like, everybody was probably of the opinion after watching that of, who's this schlub from Fale's Dojo? And you can see the improvements that he's made in his body, and that he took that to heart, and that's probably something that's going to be with him for the entirety of his life.
And secretly, that's what I'm tuning in for. I want to see these young lions get chewed out by wrestlers. We got a little taste of it with Fale in this week's episode, but I'm holding out hope that at some point in this series we get Fale just like full on laying into someone, throwing them out the dojo. That's my hope.
Oh, I have no doubt that we're going to see Fale just chew in. Like, I've already got a couple, trainees lined up for who I think is going to get the prime Fale chewing and thrown out the door.
Well, we'll wait with bated breath to see how that plays out. But yeah, it's become appointment viewing for me. As soon as that pops up on the world feed, I'm sitting down to watch it and enjoying it. So everyone else should get involved. Oh yeah, one other thing was funny. I don't know if you've seen this image on Google Maps from outside Fale's Dojo. So if you go to the Google Maps and the street view, the big man is there himself, sitting outside on a chair, waving at the Google van as it went past, which I thought was really funny. Dr. Gary says, would you want to see the Lions Raw format for other dojos? It's been really compelling viewing so far. I mean, yeah, it's just anytime there's a behind-the-scenes look, the On the Road series they did a few years ago, we got little glimpses into the dojo. I think there might have been some Jay White footage when he was training at the dojo. Maybe David Finlay as well. I can't remember because it was a long time ago. But yeah, just more of this stuff. This is just very, very compelling viewing.
Yeah. There's definitely Jay White got like 3 or 4 episodes in that On the Road series. We got the little bit with the beginning of the LA Dojo. I like to go back to the LA Dojo now that there's more guys in the house and it's a little more established, and see how that's going. I don't think, though, we'll ever see a Lions Roar for the New Japan Dojo. I think because there's just too many things that probably happen in that dojo that cannot be filmed for various reasons, and that might end badly for New Japan.
A lot of guys getting cancelled if any footage comes out from that.
Oh my God, that would just be, considering the stories that, Tama Tonga has told on his podcast, could you imagine if those had actually been like filmed for a documentary and aired?
I would rather be in my sort of peaceful place of ignorance where I like people like Jushin Thunder Liger and Yuji Nagata that there's your cuddly dads. I don't want the truth. I don't want the reality, because I know it would be deeply upsetting. It would be like finding out Santa's not real.
Yeah, I just want to maintain my image of Tana like rocking up with like 500 boxes of Shake Shack for the kids on cheat day, not probably angry dojo Tana.
Oh my goodness, this is the thought of angry dojo Tana. Wouldn't that be a sight to behold? Okay, let's move on to New Japan Strong. So there was a show from the Nemesis taping last Saturday, January 22nd. So we open up with Lucas Riley defeated by Royce Isaacs, 7 minutes 24 seconds via Hush Money. So Royce Isaacs, a guy who has made his name as part of the West Coast Wrecking Crew as a tag team with Jarrell Nelson. So here we're getting to see him in some singles action. I thought this was really good. I started to see a lot of upside in Royce Isaacs as a singles competitor as well. I mean, primarily I do want to see the tag stuff continue, because I think West Coast Wrecking Crew are one of the best tag teams in the New Japan sphere. I mean, they're a tag team that you could parachute into World Tag League, have them win the whole thing. Like, I think they are definitely at that standard. But yeah, I thought Royce Isaacs did a really good job in a singles match. Lucas Riley, nice underdog babyface spirit there, coming back from his big squash defeat to Jonah. So yeah, I like this one. And also we're getting on Twitter some information about Royce Isaacs' cooking skills. I don't know if you saw his beef and broccoli noodles, looked outstanding. So now we know the secret of why Team Filthy are doing so well. It's Royce Isaacs' great home cooking.
Yeah, I saw the picture of the home cooking. I got to kind of no-sell that. It was the beef looked good, but it was like, okay, you're saying it's beef and broccoli, but I'm having trouble picking the broccoli out of this dish. The noodles, I think the noodles could have been a little bit better, but I've seen worse food, so I'll give him that credit. I've seen Royce Isaacs because I watched the first season of TNA. Oh, not TNA. Oh my God. The NWA. Jeez. When that first came back, so he was prominent in that first season. So I'm used to him. Jarrell Nelson hadn't joined with him yet in the NWA stuff. So yeah, so I've enjoyed what Royce Isaacs has been doing. My main takeaway for Riley is, can somebody feed him a cheeseburger? Real scrawny.
No, that's one of those things. I think it sort of works for him in this spot as not the squash guy, but just, like I said, the underdog babyface who's going to lose every single time. He's not going to win a match, and I'm fine with that because he looks like that. And I think that sort of aesthetic helps to solidify that spot on the roster for him if he is going to be sticking around.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I also at least want to have some suspension of disbelief that there might be a chance that he could win a match every once in a while. It's a bit like Yoshihashi before he became the king of Korakuen, in that, okay, I'm not expecting him to win this match, but, if I'm going to sit here and watch this match, I want to at least fool myself into thinking that there's an outside chance that he could come away with the win. Now, obviously, he wasn't going to beat Royce Isaacs, so I wasn't expecting that in that degree. But going down the line, I would like to, I'm not saying bulk out, but just one cheeseburger, son, just one cheeseburger. And then my biggest thing from this match and this entire episode was, obviously, New Japan's having to take money and give the roster pay cuts. Can they not pay the light bill either?
It's extremely dark in there.
Oh my God, incredibly dark. And it's just like, do we have to do a GoFundMe so they can pay the electric bill at these houses that they're running? Because I'll do it if it means that I don't have to squint and feel like I'm in some cinema, some dank dark cinema, and I should be wearing a trench coat.
that's the strong aesthetic, isn't it? The porno theater aesthetic.
Yeah. Because I really think it hurt the Jonah Juice match. Not Jonah. Jeez. I'm having a day. It really hurt I thought the big Bad Dude Tito Juice match. And I know we'll get to that in a few seconds.
Yeah, let's get on to that now. So Juice defeating Bad Dude Tito in 9 minutes, 37 seconds. We have been throwing our fair share of criticism at Juice Robinson, and chuckled. Just the name Bad Dude Tito made me laugh. But I actually really like this. I thought this was pretty good. Bad Dude Tito looking like a sort of squashed diesel, and seemed to have some legit wrestling chops. They presented him in a way I thought commentary did a great job making him sound like a legit threat, and he's quite a chunky dude, so he did look kind of physically imposing. And Juice, to be fair to him, I thought he worked really hard in this one to get Bad Dude Tito over him and sell him as a threat, and busted out some new moves at the end. There was a kind of pulp friction off the ropes, and then a new finishing move, which is listed on the website as HHB. So yeah, I was impressed with the debut of Bad Dude Tito. I was impressed with Juice here, dare I say it. So, I mean, it's good to see that he is actually putting effort in. Not that he wouldn't, but, there would be the temptation if his New Japan career appears to be trending downwards at the moment, that he'd just be phoning it in. But he didn't. He worked really hard here. And I like the post-match with Jonah coming out and then Bad Dude Tito. He's pissed off that he's just lost the match, so he grabs Juice's heels and Jonah gets the advantage there. And then David Finlay running out to make the save. And again, I like the one strong. It feels a bit more organic. It's not, the WWE style of, you got to hit David Finlay's music before he comes out, and he's got to come out to make the save in his gear and do his little poses and everything. No, he's running out in his jeans and just managing to make the save before the beatdown happens. And I'm just stunned I'm saying this. I'm into the upcoming Finn Juice, Bad Dude Tito and Jonah match. Are you with me on this? Did you like the match?
I liked the match. I wasn't as high on it as you were. To me, it felt like most of Juice's matches. And then you're just substituting Bad Dude Tito for, whatever opponent. It was a solid match. Um, I wasn't coming away going, oh, Juice looks re-energized or, you know, oh, or anything like that. And here's where, for me, the lighting really hurt. I think Bad Dude Tito. One, I was listening on Japanese comms because I practice self care and I don't listen to Alex Kozlov, and so I wasn't getting that that help from comms to get Bad Dude Tito over, and the lighting is so poor that you couldn't see the chops and the redness of the chops as they were happening. And that's one thing I always love to see is, you see this great chop battle. And then as the match progresses, you're just seeing how these chests are turning into like hamburger meat and red and maybe a couple other colors, depending on how hard they're chopping. And so much of that match was centered around, the chops and the forearms that it for me, it didn't do Tito any favors in that regards. I like Tito. I felt to a degree though that if you're going to roll with the name Bad Dude Tito, do something really bad dudish, if that's a word. And he did some solid stuff. You said squash down Diesel. He's, to me, I came away like, oh, you're a mini Jeff Cobb. And it looked like he was going to do some high flying stuff, and they saved that. I guess we'll be seeing some top rope flying in the Tito Jonah Finjuice tag match. Whenever is that already scheduled? I'm guessing that's probably going to happen on Rivals.
Yeah, I believe it's been announced. I can't remember exactly when, but
yeah. So, I was kind of hoping that he could have gotten some of those moves off just to see how they look. I'm intrigued enough that I'll watch some more of his stuff. But like I said, the lighting just did not do him any favors in being able to show his strength with the chops and things like that. And then the beatdown afterwards, how many times do we have to watch Juice get beat down and Finlay make the save? Because this is like the third or fourth time that Juice has ended a match staring up at the lights, and Finley's got to run in his jeans and his Van shoes and save Juice from himself sometimes because he was running his mouth.
I imagine this is something that happens on Impact a lot, but speaking of self-care, I'm missing that shit.
Yeah, I'm not watching Impact either, so yeah, I can't. I've got a feeling that like the 3 or 4 times I've counted is just like in New Japan, and most of it's been happening in Strong. But once again, Juice is runs his mouth at Jonah, and that's what brings Jonah out in the first place when he's calling him out, and then Tito and Jonah beat him up, and Finlay comes in for the save. Can we have Juice coming in for the save for once? Just once?
Speaking of Jonah, Derek has a question about Jonah. He says, so Jonah, watching Jonah on Strong, and I'm not seeing anything yet in this guy. Am I missing something, or is this just another big guy doing big guy stuff? I think we need to give him a chance. I mean, we've only seen him in like squash matches so far. So let's see what we've got with Jonah when we actually see him in some competitive singles matches with bigger names on the roster, because I think it's too early to judge at the moment.
Yeah, I think right now, if you're wanting to, you're going to have to watch Impact, because I think he's got a couple program going on Impact. But I think that's where you're going to have to go right now to see Jonah be what we're all hoping Jonah is going to be.
Violent Skipping says, you've talked of Strong being the Narita project last year and the Kid project this year. Does this give a better balance for excursions than partner promotions by getting them away from the domestic fans and learning new styles and cultures, but keeping them within the company? I mean, that's a really good question. I think the traditional excursion route has been a bit hit and miss in previous years. You often see guys just sort of sitting around not doing much. I mean, thinking of Evil's excursion back in the Watanabe days. Sho and Yo, they didn't exactly light the world on fire as the Tempura Boys. Do you think this, using Strong, is a better model for the excursion than sending them out to partner promotions?
Well, it helps you control. You still have a control of their development. I think of when I saw that question on Twitter, and my first thought was, I think Wato is the perfect example of what happens when you just send a guy out to your partner promotion and just kind of let the wins do whatever the wins are going to do, because he leaves and everybody's like, oh, he's, everybody had high hopes for him. And then his Mexico excursion, then the discourse all changed to, oh my God, what's happened with Wato? Have you watched Wato? He's horrible now. I don't know what's happened to him. Didn't he like turn up missing for a few months as well? Like nobody even knew where he was. And then he comes back in the state that we finally get him back in. And it's taken about a little over a year, or maybe almost a year and a half, to kind of start getting him back to New Japan levels of being right. So yeah, at least with something like Strong, you can control what happens to them and make sure that, they're not either learning bad habits. Shota is obviously another example of what happens when you just kind of let him loose in a foreign country, as he has apparently decided to sample all of the British cuisine and is definitely, from what we've seen, gotten out of probably the type of shape that New Japan would like him to be at. So yeah, so the Strong concept lets you hold on to, better control of your guys. And I was also saying I would love Fale's Dojo to start a Strong type program. He's clearly got enough students and people that he's bringing in, and then holdovers like Taylor and Michael Richards. And I think there's like a third guy that got tagged as a young lion. So he's got the talent there. And then you just again pull from the New Zealand, Australian indie scene and start a show up there. And I would love to see that as well.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea if they can start liaising with some of those Australian promotions. I think there'd be some terrific opportunity for growth there. Third match then on this Strong show was Rocky Romero, Fred Rosser, Taylor Rust defeating Tom Lawler, Black Tiger, and Jarrell Nelson. So it's Taylor Rust getting the win in 11 minutes, 35 seconds with the perfect circle. So, I mean, Taylor Rust, the guy who was initially in Team Filthy and then left to go to NXT, and pretty predictably, and this is not a knock on Taylor Rust, just because this is what NXT do. They just hoover up a load of talent and then just chew them up and spit them out again with no seemingly connection to how good they are as a wrestler, because they've taken on plenty of really good wrestlers in recent history and given them nothing. So I wouldn't necessarily put that as a black mark against the name of Taylor Rust, but he's back and he's been given a big opportunity here. Nice feud with Tom Lawler. He's getting a shot at the Strong Openweight title. I don't think anyone expects him to win, but how do you feel he came across in this match? Because obviously the whole thing was centered around him and building him up as a challenger for Filthy Tom.
I thought he looked great. Yeah, he got hoovered up by NXT, but he wasn't there long enough to start learning bad habits and getting ground down and destroyed the way a lot of other talent over the years has. Because he wasn't even there a year, right? Like they signed him and then he was gone in like 6 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
NBA crossover is coming to Cleveland for NBA All-Star. This February, experience the intersection of music, art, fashion, tech, and basketball at the Public Auditorium. Celebrate the past, present, and future of the NBA with special appearances, brand experiences, limited edition apparel and collectibles, and live performances. Check out NBA Crossover February 18th, 19th, and 20th. Get tickets today at NBAEvents.com.
And who else was it? Alex Zane as well at the same time.
Yeah, so they got off relatively unscathed in the grand scheme of things. A little bit of TV time, but nothing like that some of the other talent over the years has had to go through when they get hoovered up by NXT. So no, I thought he looked great. I was pleasantly surprised with him, and he was definitely the standout of the match. My other takeaway, and I've had this before, is I know we keep talking about guys from Strong that we want to see over there in Japan. I would love to see a Team Filthy LIJ multi-man tag match.
Oh, that would be so good. I mean, that's been my one thing. I've been banging this drum. Feels like for like over a year now. How much of a breath of fresh air it would be for Team Filthy to make their way over to Japan. But yeah, mixing up. I think Team Filthy are like the multi-man tag specialists at the moment. I don't know why, but there's something about them in multi-man tag matches that I find incredibly entertaining. And yeah, them mixing it up in a big 10-man tag match with LIJ would be tremendous fun. And I'm praying that we're going to get that at some point. If we got it this year, it would be incredible.
Yeah, Team Filthy and Rosser have really adapted themselves to the New Japan multi-man tag style. I mean, they all fit into it perfectly. Those are always, for me, the highlights of the big shows like Battle in the Valley and Resurgence. Those multi-mans, I think, always stand up head and shoulders above other matches that are placed higher than them on the cards. And yeah, get Team Filthy over. You can, like we've just been talking about, you can use them in multi-mans. Each individual member, I think, has strong enough chops that I've got no problem seeing them have runs in Japan. You know, get Lawler and Rosser in the G1 and get West Coast Wrecking Crew in a tag league. And I think that's really all you need to do to freshen up New Japan.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say no to sticking Danny Limelight in Best of the Super Juniors. Just any injection of fresh talent would be very much welcome at this point. But yeah, we're all really hoping that Team Filthy can make it over at some point because they are the aces of New Japan Strong. Multiverse Ace says, in regards to Strong, do you think they will bring back their live specials, aka pay-per-views, or will they just continue with the current format? Resurgence and Battle in the Valley were two of my favourite events last year, and they had that special event feel. I think with their sort of US-based roster, I don't think they can run the specials like that. I think the specials are only going to happen when they can bring over, you know, a good group of talent from Japan to make it a special occasion. I think as it is, I really like the domestic roster that they got for Strong. I think it's great, but that I think is better served towards running these, taping formats where they're going to do, give you 12 matches or whatever that's going to sort out your next month of Strong, rather than doing big one-off pay-per-view specials. I think for those specials, you need to bring over your guys like Tanahashi or Ishii to sell them, really.
Yeah, I think we will. I could see in a world where eventually maybe we get like one major Strong show a quarter. I mean, we had 2 last year, because it's not like they brought over a truckload of the Japanese roster. For Resurgence, it was just Tanahashi, I think, was the main drawing point. And then Battle in the Valley, it was Ishii, mainly to get the belt off of Jay and to get it back to Japan, and Okada. So I think you could easily justify, say, doing one major Strong kind of pay-per-view. Because remember, they're also doing those pay-per-view-esque shows and tying them into a round of tapings. So there's no reason why, in theory, you can't have one a quarter. And you just send one guy over, whether it's Tana or Okada, Naito, Ibushi, Shingo, whomever, just send 1 or 2 guys over. I think that's really all you need to do to justify calling it like a pay-per-view special.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Shingo there. I think he is the guy that I think would do good numbers for US ticket sales, because he seems really popular in the West. And I think if they bring him over, put him in a prominent spot on one of these US specials, I think they would that would go down really well. Henderslam says, who's taking the Strong openweight title from Filthy Tom? Why should it be Gabe Kidd? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be Taylor Russ taking the title off him. And I mean, looking through the roster, it's hard to identify who the next guy should be, because I mean, I don't think Tom should be losing it anytime soon. I think he's a really good champion. I think he should continue to hold it. And Gabe Kidd, yeah, I think he still needs a lot of development before he's built up to that point on the roster where he seems like a credible threat to Tom Lawler. He will get there. I've got every faith in Gabe Kidd, but that might take a while before he gets there. I mean, could that be 6 months? Could it be a year? I don't know, but he is definitely an interesting name to put forward as the successor to Filthy Tom.
You were cutting out there on me.
I'll just summarize then. I think Gabe Kidd will be a good pick to be the person who takes the strong openweight title off Filthy Tom, but it will take a while to get there. I think you need at least 6 months to build him up to that point. What do you think about Gabe Kidd beating Tom for that title? Or is there anyone else on that roster who you think would be a good person to dethrone Filthy Tom?
I think it should either be Narita or Coughlin. Especially in Narita's case. I mean, he's already had the special showcase match against Shibata. So I don't see why that depending on how much longer you're going to have him on excursion before you send him back to Japan permanently, I would have no problem with him taking the belt off of Lawler and having a small run as champ. And maybe that's how you reintroduce him in Japan. Maybe he first pops over and defends the belt against somebody over in Japan, comes back and drops it to somebody else, and then pops and then goes back to Japan permanently. But I think it's, I love Kid, and yeah, I could see where maybe in a year he's rocking that belt. But I think Ren is perfectly positioned to be the one to finally take that off of Filthy Tom.
Yeah, that's a good shout. And as you said, like getting the rub from Shibata in that big Wrestle Kingdom match, he feels like a bigger deal than he did before that Wrestle Kingdom, obviously. All right, let's move on to New Year's Golden Series then. You dipped into these Korakuen shows. What did you see? What were your big takeaways from it?
I dipped. I just I mean, they're Korakuen shows, right? I watched from the first night the 6-man of Wato, Taguchi, and Tenzan versus Despi, Doki, and Kanemaru. Typical 6-man. What I liked about it though was Wato showing starting to kind of get a gritty side to him. So Wato wins the match, submits Doki with his new submission move, which I don't remember the name of it. It sounds like Vindaloo when Kevin calls it. I know that's not the name of it, but so he submits Doki, and then he just kept the move on and just stared at Desperado until Desperado was able to get free and get into the ring. And that's when Wato released the submission move. And then there was a little jawing and a little physicality post-match. And, Wato's like, oh, I'm the challenger. And just kind of restating that not to take him lightly. And Desperado said some things. And then they finally kind of formally broke apart. So I like seeing the Wato kind of getting that. No. So no, I was just Wato having that grit and that sandpaper. I hate though that they've got him paired with Tenzan and Taguchi. I understand why. But it's, it doesn't help his having those partners to kind of solidify that he's a legit challenger, because he's got his little league dad and he's got his weird pervert uncle tagging with him. So it is what it is, and that's a me thing. I totally admit that. And then I watched the main, and the main takeaway from the main was it's just fun to kind of see who actually has workable knees in the main between the 6 guys. Nothing really exciting or mind-blowing. Probably the most interesting sequence was Tana does the air guitar. He throws the guitar to Sonata. Sonata stares at it for a hot minute, strums a couple chords. He throws it to Red Shoes, and Red Shoes is like, what am I doing with this? And then throws it to Abe outside of the ring. And I appreciated just this weird moment with an air guitar. Shingo is, full of piss and vinegar, taking on Nagata. The rest of the match was pretty much kind of your standard, okay, we're going to be fighting each other, but we're not trying to do anything too super crazy. So it was fine. It was a breezy 20 minutes. I mean, it's just straight. I don't even think it went 21. As soon as you got the 20-minute call, that's pretty much when the pin happened. But I was surprised at the 20-minute call because it didn't feel like I'd been sitting there for 20 minutes. So, they're breezy, they're fun. If you're just gagging for some New Japan to watch, they're perfectly watchable. But as we talked about earlier, it's not like we're really missing out. Not having more of these house shows for the next couple of weeks.
I did look up the finishing move for Wato, that submission move, Vendaval. The meaning of Vendaval is a gusty southwest wind occurring chiefly in winter about the Strait of Gibraltar. So, a submission move named after bad weather in Gibraltar, which is a choice, but I appreciate the creativity. My experiences with these Korakuen shows are mainly through DMs from our friend Jay Michael. So he gave me 2 pieces of information about these shows. And I quote, I started skip watching through 20th of January. I'm already legitimately angry Great-O-Khan didn't beat Nakashima in 30 seconds. He storms in the ring, starts attacking the kid. I'm all excited. And now Nakashima is making Great-O-Khan scream in pain and grab a rope break from a knee bar. Forget this. And then a bit later on, oh great, here comes Hiromu still carrying the best of the Super Juniors trophy. Hiromu, buddy, you got to drop that. That is a ticket to your title match at Wrestle Kingdom. Stop bringing it out. You got to put that on the shelf until the next tournament rolls around, my friend. But they did win Jay Michael back in the end with the post-match promos. So, he said there's a bit where Taguchi draws Wato into frame and starts blasting off about how 6 or 9 will win the junior tag belts, with Wato desperately but politely trying to correct him that the team name is 1 or 8 and not getting a word in as Taguchi gets more and more fired up. For some reason, both Hiromu and Great-O-Khan made bets with Oiwa for their matches. Hiromu bet Oiwa Hiromu's New Year's money that Oiwa couldn't take off the Kamaitachi mask. Oiwa did, but there was a second one underneath. Not sure what Great-O-Khan bet, but it was a lot of money, and he taunted Hiromu on commentary with how much more money he was betting. Otherwise, it's been a predominantly immobile tour thus far. Jado, Gedo, Makabe, etc. All unfortunately prominent. Backstage comments, Great-O-Khan is doing a backstage comment thing where he's upset and confused that he's being filmed. And Ishimori grows more savage. He's making fun of Tiger Mask for having saggy titties. Well, that's not very nice. There are these pretty good YouTube highlight videos with Kevin Kelly commentaries. If you're not going to watch the whole show, those are worth checking out at least. So yeah, O'Khan is out there. He's offering money to people. Nakashima has a crew cut and a little beard. So that's, a little signifier that he's taken a little step up in the dojo rankings. Ishimori stole Tiger Mask's mask. Master Wato, I agree with you. He is showing more edge. He is developing, but he's got to get rid of that haircut. It just looks terrible on him. It just looks like the ultimate Karen. And
No, I was going to say the haircut is Kate plus 8.
I don't know what that is. You have to educate me.
So Kate plus 8. So there was a long time ago. I'm going to show my age. There was a reality series called Kate and John. I think that's what it was called. But it was like this couple, and they had like a ton of kids. And then eventually Kate and John get divorced, and then it just becomes Kate plus 8, Kate and her 8 kids. And Wato's haircut makes me think of Kate from that.
Well, that should be the tag team name then. Never mind 1 or 8. It should be Kate or 8.
Yeah. But no, I agree. He has just changed the hair because he's getting into shape. His kicks are getting, Kevin mentioned on commentary that he's been working with Ibushi. So you can see where the kicks are, have got a little more snap, a little more crisp to them. Just get rid of the hair. Just trim it. Just do something.
And we had some good stuff with Hiroki Goto using his Ultra Dad powers to pick up a win to help celebrate his daughter's birthday. Very wholesome content from Instagram there. I just love to see it. He's an inspiration to me. Just you can see how much that his family adore him and how much he loves being around them. So even if his wrestling can let us down sometimes, Hiroki Goto, the dad, is equally, if not more, enjoyable than Hiroki Goto, the wrestler. I think that's pretty much it as far as the Golden Twos goes. It's starting to show, isn't it, that it's becoming a struggle with the same guys wrestling each other. If people want to take time off, then it means you're getting to see more of the likes of Makabe and Honma and Gedo and Jado. And I'll be looking forward to picking up on this tour as we get to the more interesting matches and the title matches. But it's certainly one that it's not creating a lot of buzz for people, is it?
No. But that's been New Japan for really a year now, is that it's the same, like about 25 guys, and you're just getting different permutations.
That's it.
And
That's what it feels like, doesn't it? It feels like, okay, now it's now it's the time for Chaos to feud against House of Torture. Now it's the time for this faction to wrestle this faction. It just feels like it's like a timetable thing rather than anything happening in an exciting, organic way. But it is what it is. Not all of that, or most of that's not New Japan's fault.
Yeah, I mean the person that I think is getting hurt the most by this is Okan, because of the fact that like half his faction isn't even in the country for most of the year. So we're stuck again with him. This tour, he's just by himself. Like Hanari's gone back home too, right? I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, he must have been. I can't think of any other reason why he wouldn't be booked on these shows if he was still in Japan.
Yeah. So, which has been Okan's lot in life since last summer. Is if one of the guys is in, great, he's got some tag action. And then if not, he's kind of stuck in this weird holding pattern because he's in a small faction and none of them are in the country. And I think that's part of the reason why we've got House of Torture, is because they needed another proper heel faction. And because United Empire is not in the country, we have this growing little faction of House of Torture.
Yeah, Jay White not around as well. So, your big heels that they've built up, Jay White, Will Ospreay, they're just not able to be there consistently. So, I agree with you that House of Torture is a product of that. Cola Blue says, settle it. Which is the better name, New Beginning or Golden Series?
They're both fine. I mean, I mean, it's just Golden Series this go around because of the 50th anniversary, right? I mean, I don't think next year it'll be, Golden Series. I'm assuming it'll just go back to New Beginnings.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Golden Series is a bit of a grandiose term for it. I'd give it Bronze Series at the moment, at best.
Yeah, maybe Copper.
Yeah. Zinc Series, New Year's Zinc Series. Cameron says, what match are you most excited to be run 20 times at Korakuen on this tour? I mean, yeah, we take the point. We agree it's a bit of a slog, but hopefully things will pick up as the tour goes on. Violent Skipping says, Okada coming out of Wrestle Kingdom with the belt, or one of them, seemed the likely outcome for some time, but the next direction seems less clear. Who do you think dethrones him and when? I mean, that is a really tough question. I don't think it's going to be Naito. And I'm just looking through the roster, like who would be an appropriate guy to take the title off him? I don't know. There's no one really screaming out to me that this should be the guy. But my temptation would be to say one of the returning young lions. I don't know. I don't think any of them are at that level yet. But I think certainly the hopes were someone like Shota Umino would be able to come back and do sort of an equivalent version of the Rainmaker Shock. So I would be looking at someone from outside coming in to do that, because I look at the roster at the moment and there's no one that really excites me to think, oh yeah, this should be the next heavyweight champion.
I almost wonder if Okada is going to hold through the year and then
he should
drop to Will at a Wrestle Kingdom or sometime early next year. Because that's the other question too. How long do you think Okada? Well, that's obviously that was kind of part of the question of when you think it's going to happen. So then that begs the question: are we going to get another long Okada reign, or is it going to be more like the Shingo reign, in that he'll hold it for a few months, maybe drop it to Minion? But yeah, I don't think it's going to be Naito. I think Okada Naito is going to be our trilogy for the year, because New Japan normally likes to set up some sort of kind of top tier feud that you get like 3 or 4 times. And I think Okada Naito is going to be it this year. Because what other reason would you be running Okada Naito so soon if you weren't planning to run it again a couple more times this year? Probably a meetup in the G1, and maybe another defense or something down the line.
Yeah, it felt like that was a match they were protecting and holding on to for a future Dome show. But now, I guess with things the way they are, they felt the need to pull the trigger on that. And yeah, that's a good shout. I could see that being the trilogy for this year. Yeah, it just feels like one with Okada holding the belt at the moment. That's the holding pattern. That's the treading water. They have put the belt on him as a safe option and are waiting to see how the travel situation plays out throughout the rest of the year to see whether or not they can do anything interesting. You know, maybe even bring Jay White back into the mix at some point. I think he'd be an interesting person to maybe do a back and forth with Okada over that title at a big show. But yeah, I just feel that maybe they don't have a clear designated next guy at the moment. It feels up in the air at the moment with the way that Omicron seems to be ripping its way through Japan and the resulting impact on travel and visas and all that. Chris says, do you know why ZSJ was not in the Golden Series tour? I thought he might be back in the UK, but he's not in any shows here either. I assume he's back in the UK, just taking some time off and seeing family. I mean, if the holiday's holiday, maybe he doesn't want to just do a load of independent wrestling dates. So that would be, I assume, where he is, because he's been in Japan for an awful long time. And yeah, if I were him, I'd be enjoying some downtime too at the moment.
Yeah, because he's been there since the pandemic started. And I think he's been on just about every tour. I mean, maybe a little time off when he got knocked out of the New Japan Cup last year. But I think he's been on every tour.
Yeah,
since like since 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let the man have a couple of weeks off. Now going back to what we were just talking about with Okada, I mean, I wouldn't mind Zach at least challenging. I don't know if they would put it on Zach, but I would be down with Zach challenging, because that's another thing too. Is, I mean, who do we even have lined up as potential challengers after Naito? They can obviously hot a guy up, but who are you looking at? Like maybe Cobb, but Cobb lost at Wrestle Kingdom. I thought Cobb was going to be positioned to be a future challenger.
Yeah, I think Cobb may be a guy you could heat back up for a title challenge at any point, really. Just don't anyone but Sanada. Don't do Sanada or Okada again, please.
Oh my God, yeah. But I mean, maybe Cobb wins NJC, and then Cobb's, that's how Cobb gets his challenge. If Okada still has it for Fukuoka, for Pepe Dome, who are we running there? That those are the more interesting questions, is just trying to figure out even a defense schedule for him and who you're picking up from that roster to defend.
I suppose some people might speculate that there could be some outside challengers coming for Okada this year. I mean, Benjamin Paul says, any increase in Noah interest now that we're a few weeks past Wrestle Kingdom Night 3? I myself have been really getting into Noah for the first time since nearly nothing of any major notice happening on the New Japan front. I mean, I understand that. For me, it's just a question of free time. I don't have the free time to watch anything really these days, let alone New Japan. So I don't have the free time to be taken on anything. I appreciate Noah is good. If they're highly recommended matches, I will check them out. And yeah, I would say there's a non-zero possibility of them working something out for future stuff. Maybe Kiyomiya comes in to challenge Okada for the title at some point. I would sort of lean 70-30 towards it not happening. But certainly the possibility is there on the table for that. What about yourself? Any interest in Noah? Do you think we'll see them as one of those boys challenging Okada?
I tried to get into Noah when the pandemic started, because everybody was like, oh, you gotta watch. I made the mistake of watching the Fujita Go match. And about 5 minutes into the staring, I just gave up, and I just kind of threw my hands up in the air. And I was like, I'm done. And I've tried to watch some other stuff of Noah. It just doesn't click with me. So like, I had no interest in Wrestle Kingdom Night 3 because of that. I was like, oh, this will probably be interesting, but I wasn't driven to like buy the pay-per-view. Also because I have subscriptions to World and Universe. That was another reason why I didn't buy the pay-per-view. You already get my money twice. You're not going to get it a third time. to watch this show. So for me, I'm not running out of my way to watch Noah. I'm not even like at this point peeping like the highly recommended matches. It's just not my bag. I could see a scenario where maybe at the anniversary show, maybe it's a Noah guy challenging because it's at the Budokan, and with Budokan being Noah's kind of ancestral home, even though New Japan's been salting that earth the last few years, running G1s there and anniversary there. So I could see maybe a Noah guy. If it's going to happen, I think it might be at anniversary.
We do have a lot of questions here about NFTs. I don't know if you want to deal with them or if you'd rather I save them for when Damon is back, because I think he's someone
that was the whole point of because I started that NFT run of questions because just the thought of you trying to explain NFTs to Damon and then him, trying to answer those questions just in my head sounded incredibly hilarious. And then yesterday morning when I got the text from you about hopping on and guest hosting, once I was finally kind of awake and fully processed it, I was like, oh shit, I'm going to get those NFT questions now. And it was no longer as funny or as hilarious. Yeah, I'll save those for Damon. Because that will be some good, that's going to be some good comedy.
Excellent stuff. All right, well, let's just dip into a few Discord questions. I've got a little bit of time before I've got to go to work. Andrew says, why did Joel decide to play Kenny Omega's favourite game, Undertale, instead of starting on the Yakuza series, which specifically excluded Kenny Omega when adding New Japan wrestlers to the series? I mean, I have started Yakuza 0 now, but I stopped because I needed to do my festive playthrough of Shenmue, and then I bought FIFA 22, which is not a great game, but it's kind of addictive and is sort of a nice way for me to turn my brain off when I get home. So I haven't picked up Yakuza again. I really need to get back on it because I know it's good. I enjoyed what I played so far. And yes, I apologise for playing the Kenny Omega game. Undertale, I mean, I liked Undertale, but it's horribly overrated. I mean, people saying that like this is one of the greatest games of all time. It's really not. It's a nice little game. It's quite clever with the things that it does, but like, come on, calm down, guys. Vase Collector says, Joel, on a scale from -5 to +5, 0 is neutral. How pumped are you for the new From Software release of Elden Rings? And that is my question. I would put myself as a +4 for that. Very, very excited. I think I've enjoyed everything they've put out. The non-Souls stuff as well. Bloodborne, Sekiro, big fan. And from everything I've seen about Elden Ring, I'm sure I'm going to really enjoy it. So when I get that, maybe I'll give you weekly Elden Ring updates on the podcast. So yeah, looking forward to that. Classic Catch says, if Liger got a year-long farewell tour and 2 nights at Wrestle Kingdom, what would New Japan do for Tanahashi? And that is my question. Do you think Tanahashi would be someone who gets bigger fanfare than Liger upon his retirement, whenever that might be?
I would be shocked if he got less fanfare than Liger. I think that's just going to be a wild, off the chain retirement tour. If he even like does the full tour, I could see Tana being almost kind of like a Muto or a Choshu, in that he'll keep talking about retirement and then he just keeps popping back up. Tanahashi strikes me as a guy that it's almost going to be like a Nakanishi, where you just have to retire him and put him down basically and drag him out of the ring crying and screaming. But if he goes the retirement tour type like Liger, yeah, that's just going to be insane. Absolutely insane. And he deserves it.
Yeah, agreed. Vase Collector says, what is the "and that is my question" merch situation? Picturing it as an Attitude Era Rock or DX catchphrase tee. I don't know if we need to reach out to Antonio to sort out royalties with that. I don't know if he has the intellectual copyright holder of "and that is my question." We're definitely sort of running a bit dry as far as t-shirt sales go. So maybe we need some new ideas. So listeners, if you have any ideas for t-shirts that you would be interested in buying, let us know and we'll try and get them commissioned. Vase Collector says,
we talked about.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say we talked about a Dr. Kagoshima shirt.
Yes, we did. That just sort of got lost in my list of things to do pile, which just got bigger and bigger at that time. But yeah, Dr. Kagoshima, watch this space. Maybe I'll pick that up again because I know we'd buy it for sure. I don't know if
Oh
it'd be
God,
in
yeah.
breach of any sort of intellectual copyright laws for that. But yeah, maybe I'll reach out to Tapler and see what we can bash out there. Next question was going to be from Vase Collector. Do you see Kushida coming back to New Japan ever, or do you see him trying another hand at a stateside run outside of WWE? What about Nakamura? Kushida seems happy enough in WWE at the moment. He seems to be getting matches. He's doing all right relative to other guys who've gone over there. So I'm not going to be holding my breath for him coming back to New Japan anytime soon, personally.
No, and I'm wondering what's there for him to do in New Japan? I mean, it's very clear they're never going to make him a heavyweight or even let him challenge for the Never belt. So what, he would just come back and basically take up his spot as, within the junior division? I mean, there's nothing for him to do. Nakamura would be the more interesting one. He enjoys his surfing though. He's one I could, he's the one that maybe you could entice him back for maybe 1 or 2 matches. But Kushida, I just what is there for Kushida to do?
Yeah, they're not a heavyweight run, basically, is my short answer.
Right.
Classic Catch says, what would you do with Jay White after Evil turns on him? Do you completely split up Bullet Club? Does he form his own group? And is that my question? Yes, that is your question. Let's get Jay White back in the country first and then worry about that. I mean, obviously at the start of last year, we all thought that the big money and the babyface turn, but I don't know, maybe Japanese fans would be so excited and pleased to see Jay White back in Japan that that's where you can kickstart the babyface turn. But do I see him long-term with Bullet Club? I don't know. It seems Bullet Club has kind of moved into this sort of more tweener role as House of Torture have become the de facto heels, and United Empire are obviously heels, even though they're not the cheating heels. So, maybe you can bring Jay White back. He stays with Bullet Club, but then Bullet Club is just sort of realigned on the heel face spectrum. What do you think happens with Jay?
I think Jay would come back, and then we'd finally get the Evil program, maybe between the two of them for the soul of Bullet Club, or however you want to phrase that. And then I think eventually, if Jay comes back and Jay is able to stay consistently, I think House of Torture just gets spun off as its own unit. And Bullet Club, you can either keep them tweener, but you've already got Suzuki Gun and LIJ, which are tweeners. So that would you could just make them some form of heel that's different from House of Torture and United Empire. I know eventually you're going to get the face turn from Jay, but I think also right now there's a noticeable lack of top tier heels. And regardless of what you think of Jay White is a very good heel. And New Japan needs top tier heels. Evil's not cutting it. Will is in and out of the country as well. So if you get the both of them back, then you spin off House of Torture, then you've got 2 top tier heels and 1 kind of mid tier heel leader with those 3 guys. And then, but I don't think we would see a Jay White face turn for a few years at least, once we get him back in the country. But you're right, we just got to get him back in first, get him kind of reintegrated into the roster. He's doing the stuff on Impact with Bullet Club, and so far they're all hunky dory. Even though every once in a while you were getting those Tama Tonga tweets that were making you wonder if he was going to throw his lot in with Evil or not. So, I don't know if we're going to get another Bullet Club full on Civil War, or just something where they throw House of Torture out and then they just become their own permanent faction.
MBTLO UFC says, for footy jar, I went to watch Arsenal versus Sunderland before Christmas. Is Eddie Nketiah good enough for England? No, I don't think he is. He kind of reminds me a bit of Franny Jeffers, a bit of a dated reference there for football fans, but he's a guy who I think can get into good scoring positions and is a decent finisher, but unless he's getting the service, there's not a great else that he brings to the table. Bob says, how did Arsenal lose that FA Cup match? Were they still feeling the effects of that Man City match, and will the Gunners finish in the top four? Gosh, I don't think so. I just think we are lacking in a decent striker. We seem to be creating lots of chances. I think we've got good creative midfield options, like Saka, Smith Rowe, Ødegaard, Martinelli, but we need someone up top to link it up and to start putting away those chances. And I don't know if we're going to buy the right person in January to do that. If we do, if we get a decent striker in the transfer window, then we could certainly have a crack at it. But I don't see it. I could see if we finish maybe sixth, probably get back in European football, that will be progress at least, even though it wouldn't necessarily excite me. Daryl says, any New Year's resolutions? I, for one, would like to eat healthier, get more sleep, get more exercise, and boycott all House of Torture matches in 2022. I would maybe pick your brains about this, Booze, because I'm trying to eat fewer carbs. You're big on the keto thing. That was going to be something for me. I want to lose a few pounds this year and eat a bit more healthily. Maybe you can give me some tips on that and share any resolutions that you have.
Yeah, I think I might be enacting a resolution right now. I just can't really talk about it. But if I pop up as a guest host a little bit later in the year, oh boy, do I have some stories to tell on that front. With the keto thing, the big thing is for me, I'm not the crazy, I don't sit there and calculate all my macros and all of that. A lot of it is just simply cutting carbs out, or, at least being carb conscious enough to sit there and go, okay, so this is actually net 10 carbs. I can go ahead and eat it. I was full on last year, and then I live in Texas, and actually in 2020, and then in 2021, we had a little weather incident almost a year ago regarding a freeze that left the grocery stores depleted of food. Like, there were actual lines and people having to act as bouncers in the grocery stores for a few days. And at that point, I went, I just need to eat sustenance. I can't be sitting here trying to figure out of the 3 options that are left in the grocery store, which is keto friendly. So I dropped off of keto, and then I've been dipping back on and off. I'm back on it right now. The big thing with keto is, in the beginning stages, is the keto flu, which is a legitimate thing, where because you're changing how your body is getting its fuel, your body freaks the fuck out, and you'll have symptoms that feel like you've got the flu or something. Hence why it's called the keto flu, and that's a little weird the first go around. Because you're like, oh, this is a real thing, and it can mess you up. And then on the flip side, if you hop off a keto full board, you can have basically the carb equivalent of a hangover. And I did that once when I was full on keto. I went to a friend's house, and I didn't want to be that picky eater of, oh, I can't eat this. So I was eating everything that was presented to me and drinking stuff that I shouldn't have been drinking. And then for a couple of days, I was just sitting there feeling hungover because I had suddenly ingested so many carbs in one full go. So, but a lot of it is just maybe not even completely cutting out carbs, but just finding carb-friendly stuff. There's keto bread. Some of it's actually really good. There's tortillas that have a carb balance, so they're maybe 2 net grams of carbs when it's all said and done. So there are things that you can do to still, eat, somewhat feel like you're eating normally, but you're still just being, carb conscious. And so it's just keeping your carbs down, and exercise would probably be my thing. Is just I've got to do better in being more ambulatory. Oh yeah, no, carb hangovers are incredible. Can be incredibly brutal because you just feel the same way that as if you just went on a massive bender the night before, and you're like, I just had a couple of McDonald's cheeseburgers. That's all I had, and your body's just like, nope, screw you. So those are things that just to kind of keep in mind. But there's stuff out there that you can eat that has carbs, but it's just lower net carbs, like bread. There's a couple different, like ORO has some bread that is keto. That's actually pretty tasty. And then tortillas, there's like, net carbs of like 2 and things if you go hunting around. So you got to work a little bit at it, but you can find things to fit what you want to do.
Yeah, I've been sort of dipping into stuff like konjac. Konjac is a big thing, like konjac rice, konjac noodles. So they're filling the hole at the moment. All right, I need to get ready for work, so I'm just going to plug the upcoming single. Very excited about this one from Escape the Box. It's coming out on February 14th. It is free to stream on all streaming platforms. The name of the song is Bad Obsession. So get involved. It is going to be a killer song. I'm a big fan of Escape the Box. And again, not just saying that, they tick my musical boxes as far as my taste is concerned. Booze, thank you very much for stepping in. I mean, we wish Damon all the best. We may hear your voice again next week. Anything that you would like to plug before we get out of here?
No, not really. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Booze with a B-O and then the number 0, Z-E, Leprechaun. That's where you can find me on Twitter. Thanks for having me back on. I guess, Ibushi, I was going to earlier make a whole joke about Damon being Ibushi and me being Okada. And then I went with the sumo. Then I went with the sumo cast joke on the fly. So, but no, thanks for having me on. And I will gladly answer that bat signal if it needs to be answered in the future.
Fantastic. Okay, so redcircle.com/shows/super-j-cast if you want to throw some money our way. We always appreciate it. If you want to join our Discord community, you can send me a DM on Twitter and I will share the link with you. I'm not going to get into why that is the case, why we don't have an open invite, but there you go. At Cobra Kawaii and prowrestlingtees.com/super-j-cast if you want to buy one of our t-shirts. Massive thank you to editor Dan. You can find him on Twitter at LousyHero219. And the new Escape the Box single coming out February 14th, Bad Obsession. Subscribe to the Voices of Wrestling podcast network for other great shows. Give us a 5-snake review on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at the Super J-Cast. Thank you everyone for listening and goodbye.
Grandparents, at Vanguard, you're more than just a grandparent. You're the family historians. You fill your closets with heirlooms, family photos, and letters from long ago. You're always planning the next family reunion, even at the reunion. Because for you, time well spent is time spent on them. At Vanguard, you're more than just an investor. You're an owner. Because the future you're building is bigger than yourself. Discover the value of ownership at Vanguard.com. Fund shareholders own the funds that own Vanguard. Vanguard Marketing Corporation, distributor.